Yo, what up, y'all? We are back. It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right. So it is good to see everybody in here. If you guys can hear me, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, then give me a thumbs down or an angry face. All right. I'm going to shout out everybody that's in the building early. We got Brooklyn Queen in the house on the replay gang. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. We got Jesse Paris. We got Carla Lockhart. We got Carlton Way. We got Sybil. We got Patricia Slade, B1. We got AJ. It's good to see you guys. All right. So what we are going to be doing is we're going to continue to track the record-breaking amounts of migrants that are coming in. Now, I believe that we are at a pivotal stage in the migrant crisis. And the reason why I believe that we are in a pivotal stage in the migrant crisis is because the money, when it comes to a lot of these states, the money has dried up. There is no more money. And we're going to be talking about that in more detail on the next Undocumented Bros. But what you're going to start to see is now we're into that phase of there's no more capacity and no more resources. And since there's no more capacity and no more resources, what's going to end up happening is now in all of these other cities that you wouldn't expect to see, now what you're going to start to see is you're going to start to see the bigger cities like Chicago and the bigger cities like New York. Now they're going to start forcing their migrant overflow into those cities, and it's going to cause intra-state conflict between localities. If you ask me, this is probably going to start to happen any day now, and it's probably going to be at a very bad place, I would say, toward the middle of next year. Very bad place. You'll see why in a moment. Shout out to Carlton Way. Carlton said, Democratic shills will be saying FBA are just like the undocumented bros because some of us don't fill out the census forms. Bro, they are already saying they're already trying to do everything that they can to try to make us like we're the undocumented bros. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. So I don't know if anybody was aware, but we talked about this on the last one. Biden went and talked with the Mexican president about the border crisis. Meanwhile, there's a huge migrant caravan on the way to the United States. Now, let me ask you guys this. What happened with all of the other migrant caravans that were coming towards the United States? Anybody know? Shout out to Torian. What's good with it, bro? Does anybody know? Whatever ended up happening with them?
Two top Biden administration officials traveled to Mexico today to meet with Mexico's president about an ongoing crisis at the southern U.S. border. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, along with other officials, met with Mexico's president this afternoon. President Biden sent them to Mexico during a time when border crossings have hit record numbers, up to 10,000 a day. Mexico plays a large role in the U.S. government's efforts to limit the number of people pouring into the United States. Fox's Rebecca Castor has our story.
As the largest migrant caravan of the year, an estimated 8,000, is on its way to the U.S. southern border, top Biden officials are in Mexico to...
Now, here goes my question. If they know that this thing is on the way to the United States, why are they not doing something to reroute it or to deter it now? Like, why are we kind of just talking about it? Does that make any sense? Like, you would think that they would proactively be trying to do something about this right now. But they're not. They got all the information. They know that this giant migrant caravan is on the way to the United States, and they sitting down there in Mexico drinking Modelo and Dos Equis and Coronas and some tequila some Jose Cuervo and not doing nothing about this damn problem. Yeah, I gotta agree. Shout out to Torian. Torian says this is the new America that they want. This is their reimagining, so to speak. Yeah, facts. I agree. Facts. And honestly, bro, this is the new entire world that they want. You know what I'm saying? They want the whole. This is not just going on here in the United States. The undocumented bros is global. This is a global movement. You know what I'm saying? They want the whole entire world completely remodeled. And one of the reasons why they want it remodeled is because as long as you keep people moving and you keep people where they don't have any grounding or able to understand and protect their history and their identity, the group of people that does have their identity and the group of people that is grounded will always have a better position in the fight. You know what I'm saying? This is one of the things that Neely Fuller Jr. talked about when he was talking about that racial relocation.
Urged Mexican President Lopez Obrador to help drive down illegal border crossings. Migrant encounters at the U.S. border are reaching unprecedented numbers, with December on track to break the monthly record. The Biden administration is committed to expanding legal pathways for migrants, but says it needs more funding from Congress to do so.
It's about bad policy.
So now here go my question. When they say expanding legal pathways, this is what I keep telling y'all. Pay very close attention. Most of these people that are speaking out about this, they do not want the migrant crisis to end. What they see as the migrant crisis is the inconveniences that they're being caused in their respective job. But as far as people entering the United States and coming here, they don't have any problems with that whatsoever. They just want their job to be easy. But as far as people coming to the United States, man, they don't care if the borders is open or not. They just want the heat off of them. That's one of the reasons why Biden is talking about these type of fast track policies, because these fast track policies, you'll be able to just boom, 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 boom. Now they're a citizen. Now I don't have to worry about it no more. Despite the fact that the fast track policies are still going to cause issues for the people that's here.
It's about bad policy. If we would go back to the Trump policies of the wall, Title 42, and remain in Mexico, we would be in a different place on the border.
The president understands. He understands that we have to fix this immigration system. It has been broken for decades now.
Any funding for the border, as well as emergency aid for Ukraine and Israel, is on hold.
There they go. So again, I just want to make sure that y'all see. They were showing the African migrants again.
It has been broken for decades now.
Any funding for...
There they go. We're going to start keeping track of how many times they show the African migrants. You know what's crazy? Do the Hispanic migrants and the white migrants not show up when you take a picture or something? Like, is there something with the light to where when you take a picture of them, they don't show up on the camera and only the black ones do because there's some type of reflective surfaces and melanin or something like that? Is there something up with that? Because the reason why I asked that question is because we know that the African migrants do not make up the majority of the migrants, but for some reason, the mainstream media, they must really think that these black migrants are photogenic. They just love showing the black migrants.
The border, as well as emergency aid for Ukraine and Israel, is on hold until Congress can agree on new immigration policy. Those negotiations resuming Wednesday, but any official vote is still far out.
I'm planning on staying at the negotiating table forever long it takes to get this done.
Meanwhile, in Chicago, migrants are hopeful this meeting between Mexico and the U.S. could push the White House to expand work permit eligibility to undocumented workers.
All we're asking you is for a permit to be legalized and to have a permit to work.
You see this? So now they making demands. If you want to go to work, then go get a job in your home country. Do you all think, like, let's just say, for instance, we just decided to flood their countries that they're coming from. Do you think we'd be welcomed? And do you think that they would give a damn if we got behind the podium and start demanding jobs? Yeah, I gotta agree. You know that PC people are allergic to black people. So anytime you show a black person, they can't handle it. They just flip out. You know what I'm saying?
undocumented workers.
All we're asking you is for a permit to be legalized and to have a permit to work, to be out of the shadows.
The U.S. is hopeful the Mexican government can help deter illegal immigration by limiting travel across Mexico by train and bus, and also offering incentives to not cross the border. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox 4 News.
The mayors of several non-border cities are working together as their communities struggle with the surge of asylum seekers. The mayors of Denver, Chicago, and New York formed a coalition to find better options for housing this winter.
Now, as far as those cities that he just named, like I said, we'll be talking about them on the Undocumented Bros probably tomorrow. But what he's mentioning here is not the same as the information that I got.
New York is handling temporary placement of more than 68,000 people. New York self-identifies as a sanctuary city, but like others that said they would welcome refugees and asylum seekers, now they say they are not equipped to handle the overwhelming numbers.
We're the economic engine of this country and state. I don't believe any of these cities should be going through this. People are angry about the asylum and migrant. I've never seen New Yorkers as angry as they are now.
Both the Democrat mayor and the Democrat governor of New York have complained that the White House is not providing enough funding. New York City estimates a cost of $2 billion this year alone to provide food and shelter.
All right, so now Mayor Eric Adams was sitting there talking about how people are angry, right? And you know what? I wondered, is this? Let's see this.
Top U.S. officials set to visit Mexico.
Let's actually take a look at this. Let's take a look at this video real quick. We'll take a look at this video real quick, and then we're going to talk about some of the quote-unquote anger that's being experienced.
Mexico this week as Washington and Mexico try to address a record number of people trying to reach the border. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Chief Alejandro.
You guys see this? There is a record number. This is a unprecedented record amount of people that are about to come to the border right now. And the United States don't have any kind of plan to deal with this. There is literally zero plan in place to deal with this situation. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. If you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys have not hit the bell, please take a moment, hit the bell, and share the stream to your social media.
Mayorkas are scheduled to meet with Mexican officials on Wednesday. This comes as thousands of migrants in a U.S.-bound caravan made their way through the state of Chiapas. Now, the group, which includes citizens of Central America and the Caribbean, are heading to the U.S. to escape violence and poverty.
To escape violence and to escape poverty. We got poverty and violence here in the United States. So you're not escaping violence and poverty coming to the United States. Would you guys agree that that's a factual statement that we have violence and poverty here? If you guys agree that we got violence and poverty here, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, we don't have violence and poverty, give me a thumbs down. So that means that if you're coming from violence and poverty to violence and poverty, you're not escaping anything, except for the fact that the country that they came from does not have handouts for them, and the United States does. That's the only difference.
A draft law in the Ukraine.
And I'm not trying to look, man. I'm not trying to be funny, but you didn't walk all the way from damn Paraguay to Mexico like this. That didn't happen. So, like, what's up with these people in these clothes? If you walked all the way to hell from Paraguay, Uruguay, you know what I'm saying, to Central America, to Mexico, to the United States, your clothes are going to be looking ripped up like the clothes they be wearing on them zombie movies. You're not going to have fresh clothes. Even if your clothes are slightly dirty and dingy like this, your clothes are going to be dirty, ripped up, smelly. This, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be outside in the rain. When they show these images on the news anchors and the journalists never even question the appearance of any of these people, man. Why do y'all think that is?
Heading to the U.S. to escape violence and poverty. A draft law in the Ukrainian parliament proposes lowering the age of mobilization for combat duty to 25 from 27. A lawmaker said the government is...
So that's it. That's all we need to see on that. So now Eric Adams was talking about how people are angry, right? and Sky News has a clip where it's talking about people are angry, and they're addressing it in terms of the worldwide migrant crisis, because like you guys know, the movement is global. You know what I'm saying? I was about to say the same thing, Carlton. Carlton said they was on a bus for 2,000 miles and then were told to walk the last mile of the trip. Right, for photo purposes, for the camera. You know what I'm saying?
US for a little while now. What are you experiencing, seeing with the migration crisis over there? I mean, every day there seems to be another story. I see the southern border has had its highest single day total ever recorded of illegal migrants passing through. And in Massachusetts now, they're poised to spend close to $1 billion on emergency shelters because of migrants.
See, and that's in Massachusetts. I've only did one piece of content about Massachusetts. How many people knew Massachusetts was about to spend $2 billion on migrants? If you guys knew that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't, give me a thumbs down. Now you know.
Because of migrants.
Yeah, people are angry. What we're seeing, not just in the US, but in the UK too, is such an acute need for housing, which exacerbates this entire thing. Not just for US and UK citizens, but also, like you said, for the hundreds of thousands of people crossing the borders into the country each year. And this is obviously causing resentment. It's inevitable from the local people of the towns and cities that this is happening in. Local people who work hard can't peacefully live in their own towns. Look at New York, Chicago, London. There's such a high homeless population in these places that they're turning into their own neighborhoods, tent cities. And then on the other side, you have people who have been promised a new life, a new opportunity, whether it's America or the UK or different places. They end up on the streets or be.
Now, here's the question. Who's promising these people new lives? Who's promising these people all these things? See, that's the question. Who's making these promises?
Being squashed into temporary housing that is costing billions and billions from the government so they can be processed. I mean, it's a horrible situation for everybody. And I think that it's time for the US and the UK and other places around the world to rethink immigration strategy and try to not be the nice guys all the time. But that's easier said than done, I guess.
Well, the rest of us are living in a cost of living crisis too, but you wouldn't know it with the money they're spending on these people. Now, just to finish up, I want to ask about the royals. Meghan Markle has made a return to acting. Can you believe it? She starred as a background extra in I've got to say, it's pretty bizarre Instagram advert.
All right, so there's that. That's the only part that we needed to listen to as far as the migrant part. So now we're going to listen to a little bit more that they have from News Nation about what was talked about down in Mexico, which is probably nothing, right? But now what they should have been talking about, if you ask me, is they should have been talking about a multi-country strategy to break up and redirect that migrant caravan. The fact that that's not what they're talking about, that tells you that the United States government and the Mexican government are not concerned, and they're actually expecting the migrant caravan to enter into the United States.
Right now, Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas are in Mexico for high-level talks with their Mexican counterparts on the migrant crisis. Secretary of State Blinken arriving in Mexico City just moments ago. These talks come as the largest migrant caravan we've seen in a year is moving closer to the U.S. and after a year of seemingly nonstop flow of migrants coming across our border. CBP sources telling News Nation migrant encounters have already...
Okay, I got a question. And I really need you guys to concentrate. Now, if you have been walking all this distance, if you've been walking all this damn distance, you don't have any energy and you don't have any food. You mean to tell me you got enough energy to be carrying extra stuff like a damn cross? You got energy to carry that cross? Oh, it's playtime now. Really?
Across our border. CBP sources telling News Nation migrant encounters have already surpassed 250,000 for the month of December, and right now it's on the verge of breaking the previous monthly record set in September of nearly 270,000 encounters. Correspondent Joe Khalil is live in Washington. And Joe, what's expected to come from these talks?
Well, we know they're going to be really tough, Nicole. As you mentioned, Secretary Blinken arriving. It was about 25 minutes or so that you saw those images. He got off the plane. Eventually, he's going to be linking up with Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas from the Homeland Security Department, and they will be meeting together with Mexico's president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, and his security cabinet, talking about ways that Mexico can be a stronger partner in the effort to try to limit and curb these record numbers of migrants.
Now, we know how Mexico could be a stronger partner, but I'm going to ask you guys, what would, if you all were at that meeting, what would your suggestions be on how Mexico can assist the United States in being a good partner and stopping that migrant caravan
coming through their country and getting to the U.S. southern border before they arrive there? That's going to mean a lot more law enforcement resources from Mexico and a number of other measures they would have to do to try to stem that flow. Now, hanging over all of this are the images that you see right now. There is another large migrant caravan heading north from the southern part of Mexico as we speak, in some ways overshadowing the meeting today. This timing couldn't be worse for Secretary Blinken. Some local media in Mexico estimate that the migrant numbers could be anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 people in that caravan. Now, Nicole, that seems like a big number, 6,000 to 10,000. But when you consider the fact that Customs and Border Protection deal with basically that range of numbers and encounters every single day at the southern border, take a look over the last few months. In October and November, you've got 240,000.
I'm not trying to be funny, but they could create architecture, right? Like they could create anti-illegal crossing architecture to make it where it's more difficult for people to mechanically get across or mechanically get over. But they're not doing that, which means that this is not something that they're really serious about.
242,000 encounters in November. So that's like 8,000 every single day. And then in the month of December, our Adley Bradley reporting that CBP is on track to actually break that record. 250,000 already. They may be headed toward something close to 270,000, which, as we mentioned, would set December up for a record. So that is what Secretary Blinken and President Obrador have to contend with right now. Now, President Obrador has already committed to working with countries like Guatemala, for example, to try to stem the flow of migrants from those countries before they even come into Mexico. And he says there are.
So now here's the question. What is the plan? Why won't they go public and tell us, well, this is our strategy. This is our actual plan of what we're going to do to actually stem this issue from happening. Yeah, hey, facts. Carlton, put some pit bulls, Rottweilers at the border. They could put those robots that they got in New York at the border. They could run an electric current through the fence. They could dig trenches. They could plant a bunch of, they could relocate a bunch of trees to make it even more difficult to get to the border fence. They could do all kinds of stuff.
A number of things that Mexico's willing to do to be stronger partners with the United States. So let's see what comes out of these meetings.
Oh, wait, listen, imagine if they made trenches, right? Imagine if they made giant trenches and then put cactus in the trenches. Oh, and a bunch of scorpions and rattlesnakes.
Later this afternoon, set to begin in roughly a half hour from now, Nicole.
All right, in just about a half hour. All right, Joe Khalil, live fresh in Washington. Thank you.
All right, so there's that. All right, so now next what we got is Fox 6 giving a little bit more detail about these 8,000 people coming in on this caravan. Now, I want to ask you guys this question as far as numbers go, right? Out of all of the people who are going to be arriving with these 8,000 people, how many of them do you think will be deported versus how many do you think will be allowed to come into the United States? Out of 8,000, how many coming in? How many going back? Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And real quick, shout out to everybody. We got 21 people watching and we got 18 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 25, that'd be great.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is scheduled to meet with Mexico's president. This as a migrant caravan is making its way to the border right now. We know that an estimated 8,000 people are believed to be en route. And as Morgan Chesky shows us, that number is expected to grow.
Is heading north. A group of men, women, and children, whose organizers say is now 8,000 strong, after an estimated 2,000 more.
How are they talking to the organizers, but they're not like putting these people in jail? These people that are organizing these. Look at this. Who organizes big ass caravan? How do you organize 8,000 people like that? Just walking in a single file line from all over the entire world. Man, that is a crazy, 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 crazy sight to see.
Is now 8,000 strong, after an estimated 2,000 more joined in a single day. The caravan last seen in the Mexican state of Chiapas near Guatemala would be the largest since last year. Many of them desperate and exhausted. This father from Honduras, sharing his 3-year-old daughter, is now too weak to walk. The U.S. border still more than 1,000 miles away. In Eagle Pass, Texas, just days after these stunning scenes of migrant families lining the Rio Grande, U.S. Customs and Border Protection facing a quiet lull that likely won't last long. Outside an Eagle Pass shelter, we met Osmani, Marianne, and Edison.
¿Dónde van ahora? Where are you going now? Oklahoma?
Los Angeles.
LA? Dallas.
Marianne from Venezuela says she's now waiting until her asylum hearing. After a 5-month journey here, she called dangerous but worth it.
Estados Unidos.
Mexico's president now saying he'll meet with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, taking his own steps, installing more barbed wire on the border, and busing more migrants to primarily Democratic-led cities, such as Chicago and New York.
Every time I see all of this border wire, every time I see all of this wire coiled up, it's just crazy to me. Look at all of this razor wire, and the people still are getting through it. Look at that. It's just spools and spools and spools. And that's not that. I want y'all to understand, those razor wires, that's not barbed wire. That is razor wire. Like barbed wire has like the little sharp edges kind of tied in a knot. These have raised razors coming off of them. It's like a mini metal blade. Like you can actually, if you actually look, you can see it looks like it's a perforated line. Those are the razors raised off of here. And the people they just go right through it. Look at all the clothes. They go through these, and these things are so sharp, they latch onto the clothes and pull the clothes off. Like you see all the remnants of people's clothes just stuck all throughout that razor wire. That's wild, man. That is wild.
And busing more migrants to primarily Democratic-led cities, such as Chicago and New York, both now buckling under rising numbers.
Governor Abbott has made it clear he wants to destabilize cities and sending thousands of migrants and asylum seekers.
Well, it is. Shout out to Black Spider. Black Spider said, what if this is one big organized, coordinated, staged illegal migration movement? Because all of them know something we don't. Joe Biden. Yeah, it is. Now, I've been talking about the global movement, the Undocumented Bros Global, for a while. I watched Black Alpha Network's live stream that he did yesterday, and he was going in talking about the same thing. If y'all didn't watch that last live stream that Black Alpha Network did, y'all really should watch that. Because he hit home on a lot of points. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to David Brown.
All right, thank you so much. That was Morgan Chesky reporting. Now, that caravan makes its way north, and lawmakers in Washington are working to reach a deal over the southern border policy. Right now, there's no clear agreement.
They don't have a deal. Like, there's not a deal. Because there's no viable solution. So, being that there's no viable solution, there's no possible way that you can make a deal. What kind of deal are they gonna make? You know what I'm saying? Seriously, honestly, I want y'all to sit back and think about that. What kind of deal are they going to make? It don't even make any damn sense. So, yeah, you know what? Listen, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit. We'll use this for tomorrow. How many people heard about what happened in Chicago today? Now, this should be real easy for y'all to figure out. But something happened in Chicago today. Take a wild guess what happened in Chicago today. It wasn't an alderman meeting. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't an alderman meeting. Guess who showed up? Bruh migrant on the 5th floor. You know what I'm saying? Let's listen to this.
Breaking news, the suburbs reaching a breaking point after busloads of migrants are arriving there instead of Chicago.
Now, you see, I want y'all to pay attention to what they said. The suburbs are at a breaking point.
We have some breaking news, the suburbs reaching a breaking point.
The suburbs. Chicago is already at the breaking point, right? They done sent now is too many migrants in Chicago. They can't handle them all. So now they done sent them to the suburbs. And now the suburb is so strained that they're at a breaking point too. What happens next?
Some breaking news, the suburbs reaching a breaking point after busloads of migrants are arriving there instead of Chicago.
Casey Cronus joining us live from Ogilvie Transportation Center, where a new group of migrants sent to the suburbs just arrived. Casey.
Natalie and Scott, this is all unfolding. In just the last several minutes, we noticed some migrants who had just exited Ogilvie. They were wearing shorts and T-shirts, some of them wrapped in blankets. We went inside, and we'll have some video to show you in a moment. But one of our Spanish-speaking photographers was asking them where they had just come from. They said they didn't know what town or what suburb they were dropped off in, but they just boarded the train and just arrived here at Ogilvie Transportation Center. We did also see an OEMC vehicle outside. Some of those migrants are still in the lobby waiting for guidance on what to do next. The group that our photographer was chatting with said they had come from Ecuador originally. Some were asking him what street this was because they have relatives who are coming to pick them up. Now, all of this has been happening in the last week.
Do you see that? They got relatives that are coming to pick them up. How did they get in touch with their relatives? See, these are the questions that we got to ask. Wait a minute. So hold on real quick. You got relatives that's finna come pick you up. How did you set up a rendezvous with your relatives to come pick you up? How did that happen? We don't know. But it happened. Listen to this.
Come from Ecuador originally was because they have relatives who are coming to pick them up. Now, all of this has been happening in the last week with migrants taking trains to Ogilvie from various suburbs. It comes after Mayor Johnson has implemented harsher penalties for bus companies that are not following the guidelines.
Now, here's the question. What are the guidelines? What are the guidelines of dropping migrants off? What are they? Right, and guidance from who? Facts, Carla. What are they talking about?
In response, suburbs that don't have resources, including shelter, to handle an influx of migrants or coordinate their travel to the city have begun passing ordinances to discourage bus companies.
So now, do you guys see? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream. Now it's starting to come together into a picture for you guys that you guys can see unfolding in real time. The money is gone. FDMG. Family, the money gone. You know what I'm saying? Family, the resources gone. So now what's about to happen is, instead of sending these people to the sanctuary cities, they're going to send them to the sanctuary cities, but they're going to stand around for a little bit, and then the sanctuary cities are going to end up rerouting these people to the suburbs that don't want them, and then they're just going to be left out. And then that's when a lot of the crime and stuff like that about to start happening.
Tonight, the village of Elburn has called a special meeting after 38 migrants were dropped off there last week, taking the village by surprise. Officials say an English-speaking liaison had traveled with them and distributed prepaid metro tickets to the new arrivals. Now, most of them boarded a train to Ogilvy, while a handful were picked up by family members who live here. Meanwhile, Mayor Tim Balderman of New Lenox signed an executive order last week restricting unscheduled buses from stopping there. He says they've had police stationed at the metro station and have yet to receive any migrant buses, but they did find one migrant who was lost walking along the highway.
We did have one migrant the other day who was walking down Route 30. We were able to, with our fire department and police department, communicate with this migrant who had said they'd been walking for a day and a half. They were told that they were in Chicago, and of course they weren't. So our fire department checked them to make sure they were healthy.
I'm not trying to listen, man. These migrants are extremely gullible. Wouldn't you say? If you guys agree, wait a minute, these migrants are extremely gullible. Give me a thumbs up. If y'all don't think that these people are extremely gullible, then give me a thumbs down. I'm telling you, it sounds like they will literally believe anything. They'll believe anything. Oh, you in Chicago. All right, peace. They dropped you off in New York somewhere. But at the same time, though, you got enough coordination to be able to set up a rendezvous with your cousin. Like, really?
Make sure that there was no pending medical issue, and then we were able to put them on a train and send them to the city of Chicago.
Okay, so you are now taking a look at the video that we just filmed inside the lobby of Ogilvy. You can see a few different groups of migrants wrapped in blankets, and as you can tell, they are not equipped for this weather. Of course, as they were just dropped off in a suburb and then boarded a train and just got here for the first time. It is unclear exactly where some of them will be taken, if they'll be moved to the city's landing zone for official check-in, or perhaps taken to another shelter or police district in town to get out of this pool. We are reaching out to the city for more information on what is next. But what we do know is that the city is also not in the loop in terms of when these trains of migrants now will be arriving here at Ogilvy. Reporting live downtown, Casey Cronin, Fox 32, Chicago.
Daisy, thank you. This situation is not unique to us here. The governor of Texas is sending asylum seekers to several big cities. The leaders of some of them are proposing solutions. Mayor Brandon Johnson joining the mayors of New York City and Denver to call on the government to issue work permits to migrants before they arrive in their cities.
Whether it's New York, Chicago, or Denver, this entire country, between descendants of slaves and indigenous people and immigrants.
You hear this clown, Brandon Johnson? You hear this idiot? What are you mentioning us for? Listen to this.
Issue work permits to migrants before they arrive in their cities.
Whether it's New York, Chicago, or Denver, this entire country, between descendants of slaves and indigenous people and immigrants, this is how this nation was formed and built.
What the hell is he talking about? What is he talking about? This is how this nation was built. What are you talking about? Historical nonsense. It's only one group out of that you named that built this country. Descendants of slaves.
Mayors are also calling for a federally coordinated approach similar to plans enacted recently for refugees from Ukraine. And more migrants could be arriving here soon, the largest migrant caravan of the year.
Now, you see, now, again, you got to pay attention to all this. See how the Ukrainian migrants getting special treatment?
Coordinated approach similar to plans enacted recently for refugees from Ukraine. And more migrants could be arriving here soon, the largest migrant caravan of the year, some 8,000 strong, on its way to the southern border as I speak. Top Biden officials are in Mexico right now, urging the president there to help drive down illegal border crossings. The Biden administration is committed to expanding legal pathways for migrants, but says it needs more funding from Congress to do so.
It's about bad policy. If we would go back to the Trump policies of the wall, Title 42, and remain in Mexico, we would be in a different place on the border.
The president understands. He understands that we have to fix this immigration system. It has been broken for.
He doesn't understand. Or if he does understand, he's being negligent and failing to act.
For decades now.
Well, that said, any funding for the border as well as emergency aid for Ukraine and Israel is currently on hold until Congress can agree on new immigration policies.
Let's turn.
All right, so there's that. All right. So again, Chicago at capacity. They at capacity. So now what's about to start happening is now they're about to start dropping off migrants all over the place. They about to start dropping them off at the suburbs. They about to start shipping them to other states. They about to start doing all kinds of stuff that you haven't seen before. And all of these places are about to start fighting because they're putting into place legislation in these suburban areas and these other areas outside of the city to say, hey, wait a minute, we don't want any of these people here. And we're going to make it extremely difficult for you all to get these people in here with this legislation that we set up.
Mayor Brandon Johnson says the city of Chicago is almost at capacity with migrants.
This as more and more asylum seekers are making their way to the suburbs and other towns, villages that surround Chicago. As of today, Chicago has received over 26,000 asylum seekers. At least 10 buses of additional migrants were expected to arrive today. And the OMC says at least 3 buses arrived in the suburbs yesterday. Local leaders are meeting with Mayor Brandon Johnson about what to do.
I agree 100%. If y'all agree with Deformed Pretty Boy, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Deformed Pretty Boy says it's because those Ukrainians are going to be working on tech and engineering. Those Latin Americans are coming to cut grass and work in fast food. That's why they know what they're doing. Big facts. Big facts. They're definitely setting up the Ukrainians to integrate them into being part of the controlling structure, part of the upper class of the United States. You know what I'm saying? They're absolutely, definitely doing that. I agree 110%. You know what I'm saying? And real quick, shout out to everybody watching. If you guys haven't smashed that like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, take a moment, hit the bell. And if you haven't shared the stream to your social media, please help me out by doing that.
He meets with the mayors of Denver and New York to talk about what happens next. CBS 2's Sabrina Franza has the story.
All of our cities have reached a point where we are either close to capacity or nearly out of room.
Almost at capacity.
Without significant intervention from the federal government, this mission will not be sustained.
Still, migrants continue to make their way from buses onto metro.
Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? Brandon Johnson looked kind of wait a minute. Brandon Johnson looking kind of shook. Wait a minute. Brandon Johnson looking kind of shook, ain't he? He ain't got the pep in his step like he usually do. He's sitting there looking kind of robotic. He looking kind of MK Ultra'd out. What's wrong? If y'all don't hurry up and get this shit together, the situation is going to be unsustainable. Man, shut your goofy ass up.
Room.
Almost at capacity.
Without significant intervention from the federal government, this mission will not be sustained.
Still, migrants continue to make their way from.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if his head just popped off after he said that? Oh, man, and it was a spring attached to it. Oh, man, that would be hilarious, man.
Idiots! I'm surrounded by incompetent idiots!
Oh, man.
From buses onto Metro and into the city. Chicago counts at least 19 buses that they know of. We called around and asked towns, villages, places outside the city how many buses they've received. Plotted them on this map. Buses are stopping as far as Kankakee. When we counted, we found at least 28.
Arriving not just in the city of Chicago, but surrounding communities as well.
Mayor Brandon Johnson met with the mayors.
Oh, man, Brandon Johnson, MK Ultra'd out, man. I ain't never seen him looking like this. I think his that point on his head is a little bit lopsided today, too. You know what I'm saying? Usually he be having it isosceles triangle in the house. It's a little bit lopsided. I think we got a 30-degree angle on one side and a 45-degree on the other side. Not looking good, bruh.
New York and Denver today discussing their joint efforts to secure more federal funding.
We also need better coordination at the border.
He's also met with leaders in other Illinois suburbs to connect with those who are receiving migrants they were not expecting.
Literally dropping families off in the middle of nowhere.
I don't think anyone was prepared for the enormity.
Elizabeth Scott is the village manager of the Village of University Park. She reports at least 15 buses that have stopped in her village since Friday. About 130 families made the decision to stay there.
We're trying to absorb as many as we can. However, being a small community, we just don't have all the resources that we need.
Worse, one bus actually dropped people off in the middle of a cornfield.
And they're walking down the street, toddlers with no coats.
The city and
Oh, man, these bus companies wildin'. These bus companies are wildin'. What? Yo, why they do them like that? They just dropped them off in the middle of a cornfield. Hey, yo, you got to get out right here. What?
Sources that we need.
Worse, one bus actually dropped people off in the middle of a cornfield.
Oh, they dead wrong for that shit.
What kind of shit is that?
Oh, yo, shout out to Jazz Terra. What's good with it, Jazz Terra? Yeah, good to see you over here. Oh, man. Yeah, I got a couple channels. Yeah. Oh, man. By any means, get the hell off my bus. Oh, what that for? Everybody get the hell off the bus. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, they did them dirty, man. They did them dirty. Yo, that's cold-blooded, man. Man. What? Hold on real quick, man. We got to hear that one more time.
However, being a small community, we just don't have all the resources that we need.
Worse, one bus actually dropped people off in the middle of a cornfield.
And they're walking.
Oh, man. Brandon Johnson about to get all the blame for that. He's about to go down for that one. It's over with.
Down the street, toddlers with no coats.
The city anticipates over 10 buses will arrive today. No one knows where.
By the time we get word, it's really us at that point trying to be reactive instead of proactive.
Sabrina Franza, CBS 2 News.
Man, that's crazy, man. They just dropping these buses off. Do y'all remember on The Walking Dead? I think it was when they was at the prison and the governor had those vans full of zombies and he would just drive up and then just the people that was driving the vans would run out the van and then the back door would open up and all the zombies would just come out. That's what they doing with the migrants. Man, that's crazy. Look, they did the same thing in New York City. More than 7,000 New York City asylum seekers have arrived in the last 2 weeks. Now, it's only a matter of time before New York City start trying to send some of these asylum seekers to other places. Right, exactly. Deformed Pretty Boy said they want jobs. They can barely freaking read. Send them right to the field. Bro, they had the one migrant just walking around. He was walking up the highway. They had dropped him off somewhere and told him he was in Chicago and dipped on his ass.
Office says more than 7,000 migrants have gone through the city's intake system in the past 2 weeks, and the city expects that number to intensify.
Now he's teaming up with other big city mayors on new efforts to address the crisis. CBS 2's Jennifer Bisram has details.
Overnight, 4 buses filled with migrant families arrived at Port Authority from Philadelphia after a plane from Texas to New York carrying them was diverted there due to weather.
Desde Texas nos mandaron hasta Filadelfia y de ahí ya en bus.
We talked with Leslie Hernandez, her husband, and their 2 daughters who were among them. They were processed at the Roosevelt Hotel intake site in Midtown Manhattan Wednesday. They tell CBS 2 they were given a...
Hey, they look like they part of the Mino Black tribe. Are they part of the Mino Black tribe? Mino Black?
among them. They were processed at the Roosevelt Hotel intake site in Midtown Manhattan Wednesday. They tell CBS 2 they were given a map, Metro cards, and an address to an emergency shelter outside of the city. City officials believe this is the latest tactic by Texas Governor Greg Abbott to send asylum seekers to major cities. But for many migrants, fleeing their country for safety is the
Greg Abbott crazy as hell. I bet you he just wake up in the middle of the night at like 2 o'clock in the morning like, let me go. I'm going to go over here and take a piss and I'm going to go make a sandwich. Somebody get on the phone and send 5,000 migrants to Chicago like at like 3 o'clock in the morning and shit. Oh man, that's what we're gonna show those fuckers up in that Democrat city. We're gonna show these sanctuary city fuckers what time it is. Send 3 buses down there. Hey, give me the phone. Give me the goddamn phone. I guarantee you he wake up like that and then he just go right back to sleep, listening to the Dukes of Hazzard theme music.
their reality. The Hernandez family, who's from Colombia, says their parents were murdered, prompting them to move to Venezuela.
Nos fuimos para Venezuela y no, pues allá no hay forma de vivir. Decidimos venirnos para acá.
According to the city's Department of Social Services, over 157,600 asylum seekers arrived in New York City since last spring in need of shelter. New York City Mayor Eric Adams held a news conference Wednesday afternoon about the humanitarian crisis with a coalition of cities and announced an executive order so migrants can arrive in an orderly and safe way.
I'm announcing an executive order requiring charter buses transporting migrants, those often contracted by the state of Texas, to provide 32-hour notice in advance of their arrival.
They're not going to abide by that. Now, don't you guys think that this is interesting? Right here, right in the United States, we have damn near a intrastate Cold War popping off. Isn't that crazy? That's what I'm trying, man, bro. Listen, me and TD Hip Hop Media have been asking that question for at least 2 to 3 weeks now. Where are they Where are they getting those migrant edition number 23 vintage Jumpman Jordans at? Where are they getting them at? The migrant crisis edition ones. Because they all got Jordans, all of them. We need the very best footwear to be able to track through the damn jungle. Seriously?
Into New York City.
So far, the city opened 214 emergency shelters across the 5 boroughs and announced 5% budget cuts across all city agencies to help house migrants. But the city is growing desperate and continues to call on its federal and state partners for support.
Claro que en la migración pues nos dijeron que no podíamos trabajar.
Why? Okay, so you're not in the desert anymore, right? See, like right here, you're in New York. You can tell they got the brownstones type stairs and shit. This is New York City right here. Why are y'all wearing aluminum foil? Why are they still? One dude actually has one of these motherfuckers actually has a tinfoil hat on. Oh my God, man. I can't be laughing like this because I'm about to get a headache. Do y'all see that dude behind the dude with the black hoodie on? He is actually, literally, no exaggeration, actually wearing a tinfoil hat. He's actually wearing a tinfoil hat. Man, this is crazy. Man, they better do something with these crazy motherfuckers, man. What? Homeboy just wearing a tinfoil hat like it's okay. Man, that's crazy, man.
Claro que en la migración pues nos dijeron que no podíamos trabajar.
And a new shelter is expected to open up in Brooklyn next week. It's expected to house about 400 adult migrants. In the meantime, the city's 60-day family shelter limit is expected to come up very soon as well. Families will have to reapply for a new place to stay. In Midtown Manhattan, Jennifer Bisram, CBS 2 News.
And in a statement, Texas Governor Greg Abbott said in part, until President Biden steps up and does his job to secure the border, Texas will continue busing migrants to sanctuary cities.
Man, that's crazy, man. That's all I can say. Nobody's going to pay attention to this executive order as far as punishing these buses goes in New York City. They're not abiding by the executive order that they came out with in Chicago. They're still busing the migrants as they please, and they're going to continue to do that in New York City. I don't even know why they came out with that.
Teresa, Natasha, Mayor Eric Adams announcing an executive order just about an hour ago. Let's break it down. It will require three things. First, it will require that charter buses transporting migrants give New York City at least 32 hours advance notice that they are arriving. Two, it will require that these charter buses arrive only between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m., Monday through Friday. And three, all buses can only drop off migrants at one designated spot. Mayor Eric Adams says bus companies that fail to do so could face a Class B misdemeanor, possible fines, a lawsuit, and these buses could be impounded. This comes after 14 buses arrived from Texas in just one night last week, the highest number recorded by the arrival center. And in just the last 2 weeks, more than 7,200 migrants arrived here in the city. Also last night, migrants being flown into New York City had their flight diverted due to the fog, and so they were loaded onto buses, which arrived this morning at around 1 a.m.
Now, that's not entirely true, what she just said right there. How many people heard about that situation? There were some buses that got diverted. Or I'm sorry, there were some planes that got diverted. But they dropped these people off in different cities. They put them in different areas. So we're going to check that out. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 30 people watching. If you guys have not, please take a moment, smash the like button. If you haven't smashed the like button yet, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please take a moment and hit the bell and subscribe to the channel. And also, please share the channel, or I'm sorry, please share the stream to your social media.
Mayor Adams was joined by the mayors from Chicago and Denver, who all condemned Texas Governor Greg Abbott for flooding their cities with migrants, and also had a request for the federal government. All three mayors are asking that the federal government provide additional federal aid to come up with a plan to resettle migrants across the country, and for the feds to expand work authorization so migrants can get to work faster.
But this is a national problem that has only been exacerbated by Governor Abbott's cruel, inhumane politics, and that requires additional national solutions. The federal government must take responsibility and lead on this humanitarian crisis instead of leaving it for cities and localities to handle.
Now, the mayor of Chicago said that he also instituted similar rules requiring certain drop-off times, and it prompted Abbott to then send buses of migrants to the suburbs outside of Chicago. Some now voicing concern that something similar would happen in the suburbs here in New York as well. Teresa and Natasha.
All right, Morgan, thank you.
All right, so there's that. All right, so we can actually take a look at this particular video another day. So now what ended up happening is that some of those migrants that were on a flight to New York City ended up getting diverted to Philadelphia. How many people heard about that? If y'all heard about that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't hear about that, give me a thumbs down. And I thought I had this article up, but apparently I don't. So give me 1 second. Let me just see if I can find it. Let me see real quick. Okay. Yeah, here we go. This is good enough. This is good enough right here. Oh, hold on real quick. Give me 1 second. Hold on real quick. My bad, y'all. All right, there we go. Let me see what we got. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell? Okay, there we go. All right, I was about to say, it's doing some weird stuff. All right. All right, here we go. Man, now they put me behind a paywall. Oh, Lord have mercy. You've reached your free article limit. All right, hold on real quick. Hold up again. This will work. Okay. Now, they said that this was weather related, right? This diversion. But my question for you guys is what weather was so bad that they had to divert the plane? Did any other planes get diverted today? And I haven't heard of any crazy weather conditions, right? But this is what happened. Hold on real quick. We're about to listen to it. 22 seconds.
News now. A flight full of 200 migrants headed to New York City was diverted to Philadelphia International Airport because of weather. The plane landed just before 8 o'clock tonight. The Office of Emergency Management confirms that the passengers stayed on board until buses from New York arrived about 30 minutes ago to take them the rest of the way.
Now, now what's going to end up happening is that Philadelphia is eventually going to get migrants. All of these other places, now that New York, Chicago, Denver, LA, all of these places, now that all of these places are all at capacity, a lot of these other places are about to start getting the migrants. A lot of the suburbs of these places. We've already seen this happen in Denver. Shout out to Robb from Denver. Robb from Denver will tell you they now in Denver, they're at capacity, right? And on top of it, Denver's already got a bad homeless crisis that they're failing at, right? So now what ended up happening was now they're sending migrants to Aurora. They're sending them to Lakewood, and those cities don't want the migrants. So now what's happening is they're having intercity fights amongst the politicians in the cities. I think they got the I forget what the mayor's name of Denver is. It Mike Johnson or something like that? Everybody's all mad at him. They mad at, I think the governor's name is Polis or something like that. They're upset with him. All of these situations are being managed horribly. So now here it says mayor announces executive order for buses transporting migrants to New York City amid flight chaos. All right. So this is, excuse me, damn. This is your boy, Mayor Eric Adams. And we talked about this briefly, but we're going to go into it a little bit more. New York City Mayor Eric Adams on Wednesday announced an executive order requiring charter bus companies carrying migrants to give a 32-hour notice before arriving to the city, following chaos Tuesday night sparked by Texas governor. Now, again, if you ask me, the likelihood of anybody being compliant with that is very low. It's very low. They're going to send those migrants to New York City and to any other city as they see fit, as they need to, based on what the conditions allow or what the conditions suggest. That's going to be how it is. They're not going to abide by anything that Eric Adams is saying because no one's in this to be compliant with Eric Adams. No one's in this to make Eric Adams look good. Everybody is in this to try to survive it and to take care of their state or their locality the most. You know what I'm saying? Now, according to this ordinance, they can only arrive between 8:30 a.m. and noon, Monday through Friday, and only drop off passengers at one location unless otherwise directed by the city. So now, again, if they start trying to play hardball with this, and if they start actually slowing this process down, what you're going to start seeing is that, for one, they're going to just start dropping them off at suburban cities like they talked about in the news report. And another thing that you're going to see them start doing is they're just going to fly people there. If they can get around it by flying people there, they're just going to fly people there. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says failure to do so will result in a Class B misdemeanor, possible fines, lawsuits, and even buses being impounded. We really are saying to bus operators and companies, do not participate in Abbott's actions, Adams said. We want them to take the appropriate actions of being responsible by taking those actions during the hours we are laying out. Those asylum seekers on the buses, they will not be penalized any way at all. This does not impact the passengers on the buses. Now, here goes the thing, right? Let me ask y'all this question. How do they manage when migrants show up in Texas? Does Texas get an advance notice when people are at the border? So now here's my question. How would Brandon Johnson and how would Eric Adams manage this crisis if their states were on the southern border? Are they going to tell the people in these caravans, y'all can only come between the hours of 8 and 5? That's not going to work. They're not going to pay attention to that. So now the thing is that if these sanctuary cities are supposed to be able to take these migrants in at any time, whenever they come, the same way that they're saying Texas should be able to, then they shouldn't need any announcement. They should be set up, they should be ready, and they should have open arms as soon as the migrants come. Oh, I didn't even know that. Shout out to Rob from Denver. Rob said Colorado was busing migrants to New York City and Chicago until Eric Adams called out Governor Polis in January. Now we at capacity. Yep. Facts. So now here it says it comes in response to the chaos on Tuesday night, sparked by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who took responsibility for booking an unannounced and uncoordinated flight carrying about 180 migrants from El Paso to Kennedy Airport before the flight was diverted to Philadelphia due to weather. We had a plane with over 180 migrants depart for New York City yesterday. It was rerouted due to weather and ground stoppage in New York City, and the migrants were bused the remaining way, a spokesperson for Governor Abbott said. After arriving in Philadelphia, the migrants were bused to Port Authority around 12:30 a.m. on Wednesday. City officials believe this is the latest tactic by Abbott in an escalation of his strategy to export asylum seekers to major cities. Last night, in another inhumane act of treating human beings like political pawns, Texas attempted to send an unannounced and uncoordinated plane with migrants to New York City that was only diverted to Philadelphia due to extreme weather, but whose passengers were then transported here via bus, a spokesperson for Adams said. Last week, 14 rogue buses from the state of Texas arrived in a single night, the highest number recorded by the arrival center, the spokesperson added. Rogue buses. Adults, including couples, waited in a separate line outside the Port Authority to be taken elsewhere. Other adults were seen walking towards 8th Avenue. But New York City is not the only city that has been on the receiving end of unscheduled and uncoordinated uncoordinated arrivals. Last week, Abbott's office acknowledged it flew more than 120 migrants to Chicago. The mayor of Chicago and Denver addressed the crisis during a virtual press event Wednesday afternoon with Adams. Buses arriving not just in the city of Chicago, but surrounding communities as well. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said some neighborhoods as far-reaching as an hour and a half outside the city of Chicago. Buses sent by the governor of Texas literally dropping families off in the middle of nowhere. The latest arrival in New York City comes as the unrelenting flow of migrants continues to squeeze the city's resources. The city says it's seeing close to 16,000 new asylum seekers each month. Last week, officials say more than 4,000 asylum seekers arrived in the city. 16,000 people, that's damn near the size of a city in like a smaller state. That is a lot of people. And again, we're just watching this unfold, looking at the same thing that we've been saying since the beginning. This entire situation is completely unsustainable. You know what I'm saying? During a news conference about the matter on Tuesday, Adams once again assured that the city needs more help. There's a high level of uncertainty as we continue to navigate these crises that we're facing. Governor Abbott has made it clear he wants to destabilize cities and send thousands of migrants and asylum seekers here to the city, he said. I have to navigate this city out of it. The bottom line is I'm the mayor, and it's my obligation and responsibility to find solutions, even if we're not getting the help that we deserve from Washington, D.C., and we need more help from our partners in Albany as well as they go into this legislative season. All right. So there is that. All right. So these record numbers of migrants that you guys are seeing, they're just crushing the cities. They're crushing the cities. And there's no end in sight. This situation is not going anywhere. But we are, because this is the end of the stream. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you hit all the notification bells. Make sure that you subscribe to all my other channels. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,